Hi, everyone. My name is Amy, and I have to not just live, but survive. That's because I've been deprived of important internal organs, 2 kidneys at once. You probably don't believe me, do you? After all, it's not possible to live without them. That's what everyone says. In spite of everything, I am still alive, and I want to tell you about my life without kidneys. Unfortunately, I was born with kidney problems. They started failing shortly after I was born. The doctors decided to remove both of my kidneys and put me on the waiting list for a transplant. My parents were shocked since my mother's pregnancy was totally normal and the doctors didn't notice anything strange about me when I was in the womb. All the doctors would say that things like this happen. It didn't exactly make my parents feel better. They spent all their time waiting. They had no idea when I would be up for my transplant. Until then, I had to regularly be taken into the doctor's office for a blood purification procedure using special equipment. It was crucial that I never miss an appointment, so my mother had to quit her job to make sure she was there to take care of me. However, the doctors had good news for them a month later. It was time to perform the operation. My parents were so relieved when I got my kidney transplant because it meant I had a shot at having a normal life. Of course, it wasn't as simple as that. Yes, the doctors saved me, but they gave me a strict list of guidelines to follow too. If I didn't, the kidney would fail. My parents took the guidelines very seriously. Too seriously, maybe. They were too afraid to let me go outside to play with other kids. I spent almost all 12 years of my life shut up inside. I even did all my schoolwork at home. And I really wanted to go outside, take a walk, and talk to other kids in person instead of online. Most teenagers dream of having expensive things, gadgets, and video games. I dreamed of going to school. Can you even imagine? I found it both hilarious and sad when I kept seeing meme after meme on the internet about how tired everyone was of school. I kept thinking how silly they were not to understand what a joy it was to see your friends every day, be like everyone else, and just live a full life. I waited for years to be given more freedom, but eventually I realized I needed to take action on my own. I told my parents I would stop eating until they enrolled me in school. Words might not work on them, but the hunger strike made them nervous. My diet was something I had to follow to the letter, so they quickly agreed to my demands. While I spent a week recovering from my hunger strike, my parents enrolled me in school. They gave me a ton of conditions. I even agreed to eat really disgusting porridge and smoothies every day for the sake of going to school. It was my dream, but everything turned out not to be as wonderful as I imagined. The other kids played tag, soccer, and basketball. I really wanted to join in, but I couldn't since I was forbidden from taking part in any physical activity. I couldn't make friends with my classmates because they had hobbies that I couldn't participate in. Then I thought that if I did a few TikTok dances like the other girls, nothing bad would happen to me. Oh, how wrong I was. I got so carried away dancing that I completely forgot to take my pills on time. I was afraid I'd start feeling bad immediately, but no, I felt fine. In fact, I felt fine the whole evening. Right then, I thought I didn't need the pills or the special diet anymore. I was sure I was already completely healthy. But a few days later, while I was playing tag, I started to feel bad. An unbearable pain pierced through my body. I fell to the ground. The teachers immediately called an ambulance and took me to the hospital. The worst happened. My kidney failed due to physical exertion and missed medication. In the end, it just dried up and died. My parents were shocked. They couldn't believe I had acted so irresponsibly about my health. Now I was going to have to go back to getting dialysis and waiting for a kidney transplant. The doctors immediately warned me that it wouldn't be happening anytime soon. I I wished more than anything that I hadn't stopped following the recommendations. Well, if my life before was boring and dull, now it was even worse. I had to go to the hospital every single day to remove all the accumulated waste from my body. God, it was annoying. I wanted to go to a coffee shop or to the movies with friends after school, not to endless medical procedures. But my parents didn't let me do anything like that. They controlled everything I did. And so I stopped hanging out with my classmates, stopped dancing, stopped going anywhere for fun. No one wants to keep being friends with a boring girl who's not allowed to do anything. That's how I ended up all alone. I really wanted to get all my friends back though, and soon I had my chance. A classmate named Mindy was hosting a small party, and I really wanted to go to it. But I had to go to the hospital after school, and after the procedure, my parents weren't going to let me go anywhere. So I decided to turn off my phone and have some fun. It was unlikely anything would happen if I skipped one session. My parents looked all over for me and made a big fuss when I got back. They kept saying that I was acting reckless and that I might end up dead because of it. All I could think was that they just didn't get it. They had normal lives, and I was the one living like a prisoner. I didn't want to fight anymore. I went to my room thinking that they were panicking over nothing. They needed to be less strict about everything, that's all. But the next morning, I felt the full consequences of my carelessness. Since I didn't have all the harmful substances removed from my body, it rebelled, literally. I just barely managed to get out of bed. My head ached like crazy, and I couldn't even speak. I didn't have the strength to call out or go downstairs. Luckily, my mom usually came to get me in the mornings. She noticed something was wrong and called an ambulance right away. At the hospital, I went through my usual round of dialysis, and the doctor warned me that skipping the procedure was seriously dangerous. He told me about a patient who hadn't come in for a whole week and then had died because of it. It scared me a lot, and I decided I would be better off without any friends or fun so long as I was alive. And then everything was back on track. I agreed with my parents that it would be safer for me to be at home, so I constantly sat in my room, studying and talking with friends online. My 13th birthday was coming up, but I wasn't expecting anything good to come out of it. It would be as boring as all the other ones. But my parents surprised me with a real celebration. Some of my former classmates actually came to visit, and I was incredibly happy. And when they brought me the cake so I could blow out the candles, I made only one wish: a new kidney. Even with just one, my life was a lot easier. And what do you know? An hour later, the doctor called to tell us that it was my turn to get a new kidney. I was so happy. There was no better gift. When I was on my way to the operation, I wasn't worried at all. I knew my life would change for the better. But things didn't go according to plan. This time, my body rejected the kidney. A month later, it had to be removed. The doctor said I had only one more chance since kidneys can only be transplanted 3 times in a person's life. If the third one didn't work, my life would be at risk. I didn't want to hear that. I was so upset that I wanted everyone to just leave me alone. I lived like a robot from then on, every day like the one before. I no longer hoped for anything good in life. My parents saw how much I was suffering and decided to try and surprise me. They enrolled me in a school for children with disabilities. They promised me that the kids who went there also had many restrictions and wouldn't risk their health for the sake of a game. And they were right. My classmates were calm and quiet, which suited me well. I was glad to have someone to talk to. Then I realized we were all sort of gray. We didn't have much joy, any of us. So I wanted to do something reckless and funny to help cheer us up and feel something positive for a change. And then I had an idea. I decided to set up a scavenger hunt for the kids at school. They appreciated the idea and started running excitedly through the hallways looking for things. The game didn't end well for everyone though, because one boy had an asthma episode. And as luck would have it, he left his emergency inhaler back in the classroom. He was gasping for breath, so it was only a matter of minutes. We rummaged through his things and searched the entire office, but we couldn't find his inhaler. It was only an accident that saved us. The other kids ran downstairs, and I decided to try and search the boy's backpack one more time. At the very bottom, under the lining, I finally found it. The director found out about the incident and warned me not to play a game like that again. "But it was an accident," I said, and he replied that this accident almost cost a boy his life. Then I said that everyone in this school was very sad because they knew they were sick, but kids need at least some kind of fun and games to forget about what's wrong with them. The director did notice. That the other kids really changed after the game we played.
I just
They
wanted
seemed
you to
wake
watch
up
me
from
dissolve.
sleep. After our conversation, he added creative activities and outdoor games to the curriculum. Now the kids were much more cheerful. Some of them seemed to get better even faster. But my story doesn't end there. A few months later, I underwent another operation. It was the last one, and I hoped everything would go all right. At my follow-up examination, the doctor said that my body had accepted the kidney and it was functioning normally. After that, I started following all the recommendations and was even able to return to regular school. Do you have any serious medical conditions? Write your answers in the comments. Like and share this video with your friends.